What's in your wallet?
I'm so old.
I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5 explosive hot dog carts.
Ritualistic blood magic.
Laser shooting chesty statues.
Don't watch movies unless we tell you to. Welcome to Movies with My Best Friend Phil, a movie podcast whose approval of a movie is neither desired nor required. I'm your host, Phil Kessel, joined as always by two of my very best friends in the whole wide world. Even more excited today because I got to see one of them last week. It was cool. That would be Will Chodas.
Hey, Phil. Yes, we did see each other in person.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, we went to
we hugged 20 times.
Yes, we did. It got very huggy at the end of that evening. It was a wedding that we went to, and that tends to happen. I guess, at the weddings I go to.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Also joined by somebody I did not get to see last week because I don't know how to schedule things, and too many people, we've scheduled too many things, so I didn't get to hang out with Craig Norlin.
Yo.
Hey, bud.
Does it count if I saw Will?
I
think so.
Yeah, I count
Because
that.
you saw Will after I saw Will.
Yeah,
then I saw Will again. So it was like he brought me to you and you to me then.
When I hung out with Craig the second time, I was dealing with the ramifications of hanging out with you, Phil. So it was like you were there.
Yes.
Are the ramifications of hanging out with me that like you're just in a really positive, good mood and like everything's like a good vibe?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go with that. That's what it was.
Okay, you took kind of a long time to answer that, but I'm going to ignore that part.
And it wasn't a terrible
We'll cut the audio out
right.
so that it sounds like you said it immediately, like before I even finished my sentence because you were so excited. Speaking of being so excited,
oh, boy.
I am so excited. Will is so excited. Craig is so excited because we have a special guest. It's the one and only my sister, Jo Kessel.
What up, players? Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey. If I had a one of those me, I should add one. I should add one. Because us all just in unison going, hey, was sort of really...
It's sort of like soprano vibes, like we're in the back of an
very
Italian
lackluster.
restaurant or a strip club. We're in waste management. Hey!
Hey, taking the trash out. You know what I mean?
No.
Milwaukee's the home of the Fonz, so we have a bronze Fonz statue.
Really?
Oh.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah. It's
Wow.
like life-size and very legit. It's good.
We have apparently RoboCop. I don't know where it is, if it actually exists.
What?
Yeah. Phil, what do you have?
We have Blucifer, the
Yeah.
blue horse with devil red eyes, at our airport.
She's
The
creepy,
statue
dude.
killed its owner or its creator.
Oh, yeah.
Not its owner. You don't own Blucifer. No one owns that horse.
No.
You make a deal with him.
Correct.
It's a terrifying statue, though, but it's very cool. Just a big old blue horse. I don't know why.
Will, are you looking up RoboCop?
I am. I'm trying to figure out where it is.
Yeah.
Apparently
us
there is
know,
a
because I wanna
RoboCop
go.
somewhere, but I don't know. It just says Detroit, Michigan. Not helpful.
Yeah. No.
Maybe they keep moving it around so that nobody can find it.
Yeah.
It's like a viral video.
Can I say, Joe, that your glasses are so cool. We have to up our glasses game.
Oh, thank you. I have no lenses.
Oh my god!
Yeah, so I was at a thrift it was a thrift store karaoke party, and everybody dressed up in like various outfits, and we did karaoke, which was super fun. I did WAP with my friend Kyle.
Mhm.
He was supposed to be Megan Thee Stallion, but he just said random words. It was really funny. I have a video. But my friend put these on me as a joke, and I was telling Will and Phil before you hopped on that I'm pretty sure I need glasses. So I kept them because they were, 75 cents or something. And I'm trying to get used to glasses. But you might be able to tell my ears are crooked, so I don't know.
I think my ears are crooked because every time I look at my glasses, they look crooked. And I talked to Jack, and I was like, "Are my glasses crooked?" And she said, "No." And I was like holding my glasses out for her, and she's like, "No." So the only option is that my ears are crooked.
We do have big heads, so like maybe they didn't know where to fit on there.
Yeah.
But I only get half props, Craig, because they're not real.
They're not real. Well, I mean, they still look
but
cool.
Thanks
so
anyway.
Thank
You. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate
Will's got
it.
cool glasses.
Yeah, I've had these the whole time. Yeah,
magic trick.
Yeah, I know, right? I got these bright red glasses that I bought, and I was like, I'll definitely wear these. And then I've worn them 3 times, I think.
You look like Elton John.
Ones. The clear ones are cool, and you wear those all the time.
I do wear the clear ones all the time, but I bought the bright red ones. And I think the reason why I don't wear them is because this is black here, and all of my other accessories are brown. So I'm like, oh boy.
Oh God! Yeah,
fashion police are going to come after me on that one. So
it's true.
I'm trying to set a good example for my sons. Hey, wait a minute.
That's the reason they'll come after you. Got him.
Yeah, totally. So, Joe, I have a question for you. You are a returning guest. How has your life changed since being on the podcast? Are you stopped on the street now? Are you? Is your social media
recognized
super
on the
hard
street,
to
but
handle?
only when she's obscured and they can just hear her voice.
That's right.
I had to leave my last job. It got out of control.
I'm so sorry about that.
I left and I took a little break because it was just too much, between the podcast and these new glasses, it was just like
people are talking.
So much Riz all the time, so much fandom, too much happening. But I really did get a new job, so I have a new job since I was last on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah, for real though. I'm teaching now, which is really fun. So.
Wow, cool. Like humans.
Mostly. It's anybody is welcome. So we're really trying to open it up to like different kinds of species and beings, but it's primarily human nursing. So yeah, it's fun. So I'm a prof, or as Becky's brother called me once, a professor, instead of Professor Kessel. They call me Joe though. I don't go by titles and stuff, but yeah, it's a fun gig. But I had to leave. I had to do something else. It was too much fame.
Yeah, sorry about that, but we're glad you're back. We're sorry about whatever might happen as a result of this. You might lose this job, but
it's unfortunate. But no, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. Usually this is a part in the episode where what do we usually do around this time? There's something. Usually when you get a new job, you also have to like update your identification. Because you have to like go and you maybe get new keys or key cards. And most people keep those sort of things in like, gosh, what is it? It's something that you pull out. It's oftentimes black or brown. Mine's brown and wouldn't go with these glasses.
Is it a paper airplane?
It is. It's a paper airplane. How'd you know that?
I studied
paper airplane in college. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just studied. Yeah. I didn't even study anything. I just studied. I sat in the library alone.
But sometimes you have those things. What is it called? Craig, I can tell you want to say it. What is it called again?
Yeah, what you've got to know.
It's called a tired bit.
Oh, that's right. It's the segment where we reach deep into our best friend's pants and whip out some recommendations. It's what's in your wallet.
Wow.
He said the magic words.
I did.
He always knows the magic words for this bit.
See, it's a bet.
Yeah, Joe, I don't know if you have any recommendations. You're welcome to go first. Or
what have you been up to? What's a movie? What's a tune? What's a vibe?
A movie or a tune or a vibe. I'm really into like Parrot Head vibes, like R.I.P. Jimmy Buffett. No.
Yes.
I mean, really do R.I.P. Jimmy Buffett, but. I have 2 things that I would suggest. What'd you say?
It was going to get dark if you didn't, JK.
If I didn't change it? I know. Like, as if I hated Jimmy Buffett. That'll get me canceled. I love Jimmy Buffett. R.I.P. Let's see how many times I can say R.I.P. Jimmy Buffett. It's been 4 so far for anyone counting. At any rate, 2 things I'm super into. There's a TV show called We're Here. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's on Max. It's it starts, there's like I think 3 seasons with 3 different drag queens from RuPaul's Drag Race, and they go to different towns and they like meet with people and talk to them, and they act as like therapist makeover.
So it's like Queer Eye?
It's like Queer Eye but less capitalism.
Nice.
For lack of a better, I don't know how else to describe it, but it's very, very sweet. And they actually just are starting a new season with Sasha Velour, who's one of my favorite queens all time, Priyanka, Phil, your favorite, Latrice Royale.
Yes.
And then also Jada Essence Hall, who is not only from Milwaukee, but I have met her, and she's a f***ing gem. I started crying. I wasn't expecting to meet her, and I'm an emotional person, and I was like, "You're Jada. What's happening? You're at the airport." And she was like, "Yeah, I'm a cool person. You want to take a picture?" And she was so nice, and I was trying to explain, like, "I'm a nurse. You got me through COVID. You're the best." And she was just so sweet. And so that 10 out of 10. They have new episodes coming out right now, and it's really great. And then the other thing I would recommend is Chapel Roan. If you're not listening to her, you're doing life very wrong. She's a very awesome queer artist coming out of Missouri. Her new album is, I think it's called like Midwest Princess, something of a Midwest Princess. It's incredible.
I only know the one song.
The what is it? Good Luck Babe. That one that just came out. That one's very, but the whole, let me look up the album name. I should have written that down. The Rise and Fall of the Midwest Princess. It is no skips, 10 out of 10. I recommend.
Wow.
Nice.
Yep.
I gotta see if Jack has watched We're Here. I feel like
She
if
would
she
love it.
hasn't, she probably should be watching it.
I have no doubt she would love it. I can pretty well guarantee it.
All I have to say is that I wish I had thought of a recommendation that was themed to our movie. And I'm assuming that like this would have been your recommendation, even if, or I mean,
honestly, yeah, it's kind of my whole life is like queer art and queer everything. So, so I was listening to Chaperone regardless, and I've been saving the new episodes of We're Here to binge them because it's just the best.
Very cool. So Phil, what do you got in your thingy? What is it called? Oh, paper airplane.
Yeah, my paper airplane. My paper airplane is holding a podcast called Bullet Catcher. I had texted Craig and Will because I found a podcast and I was like, I started it and I got an episode in, and then I think I texted you guys that it was like the worst.
Oh yeah.
Like voice acting I think I've ever experienced. And it was really rough, and I was having a rough time finding a new like audio drama or something like that to listen to. And then I randomly stumbled onto Bullet Catcher, which is from Realm, which I've now listened to a couple of other Realm podcasts, and they know what they're doing. But it is a sort of fantasy western. It's mostly just a western, but then there are these people called bullet catchers that can sort of mystic monk move bullets when they're being fired upon, which is kind of cool. And it is this young girl who's working in this saloon. She hates it. Everything's bad. Then there's a guy who's a bullet catcher, comes into the saloon. Somebody tries to kill him, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm just gonna bend the bullet, and you're dead." But he didn't kill him. He just shot his hand. You know, like the cool classic Western stuff. And then she goes and just follows him. And then they become like unlikely sort of surrogate father, surrogate daughter vibes. She's looking for her brother. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff. And I think it's only like 12 to 15 episodes or something. But it was pretty cool.
So how is it set up? Does it have like, because this is an audio drama, right?
So
does it have like a narrator or?
It is. This one's different because a lot of the ones that I have been listening to, it's multiple voices, multiple, everyone's doing their own, each individual character has their own voice actor. This one is sort of told diary perspective. So it is just the young girl telling the story. And so she'll do the voice actress is doing the voices for everyone. And initially I was like, it kind of just sounds like the same voice actress, just like doing a grumbly, gruff voice for the older guy. And I was like, initially I was a little off put, but then I was like, you know what? I kind of like it. Because then it's all from her perspective.
Yeah. Sort of like an audiobook a little bit.
Yeah,
like.
Yeah. It's a little more in the audiobook realm than like an audio drama with multiple voice actors. But it was still really good. And I started another Realm podcast as well that was also very good. So gonna have to check out them kids.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I like the idea of listening to like a radio drama. I think I need to get into some audiobooks because I was doing a lot of those actual play podcasts where it was like D&D, people actually playing D&D, but like so much of it was like the first 30 minutes was just like guys goofing around. You know what I mean? And so much of it is also improvised that it's like you have to kind of be in the mood for that. Sometimes you just want a story that's like really well told because D&D has that big problem that real life has where like something will happen and we'll be like, okay, so like the theming of this is off and wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there's less structure.
Yeah. So
then there's the random chance of the dice where it's like, you
feel
feel like the story should go this way.
Yeah.
But then you've rolled terribly or very, very well. And it's like, well, we can't, you got to honor that part of it. So yeah, no,
right.
and I listen to those all the time and I've just lately been more in the mood for like a fully produced written audio drama. And this one was good. I've had a couple others that have been pretty good. So getting deep into the audio drama realm. It's all like sci-fi though.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's always me.
All right, Craig. So what old movie did you watch? What 17 different films are you going to tell me about now?
That's a half truth.
This film's from 1912.
No, actually, this movie's from only a couple of years ago. So shut the hell up.
It's from 1992. You just don't know.
Yeah. Oh man, I still do that thing where I'm like, the 1970s, those were only 30 years ago. Oh my god.
Yep.
Oy. The movie I watched is called Apostle. It came out in, I believe, 2018. Have you seen this?
Is this it's got is it Dan Stevens?
Dan Stevens, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I have seen this movie.
Okay.
Once.
So on May Day, which is May 1st, I watched The Wicker Man, which is becoming my tradition because the main part of that film takes place on May Day. I really like folk horror, which really focuses on paganism, spirituality, isolated locales, folklore in general, rural settings. So The Witch, Midsommar, The Wicker Man is what people typically go to. One of the first instances of folk horror in movies. Besides like Haxan, that's a silent movie. So I did bring an old movie into it, so suck it. But The Wicker Man is all about a policeman from around London who has to go save a girl who's been apparently gone missing on this island. And Apostle is kind of a retelling of it in some ways, as it's about a man who has to go onto an isolated island that is filled with a cult, and he has to save his sister, who's been kidnapped by these people.
He's going to an island. He should have saved Jimmy Buffett. All right,
yes.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Hashtag R.I.P. Jimmy Buffett. So, yeah. Phil, how did you like the movie?
It is it goes from like, I want to say 0 to 60, but I felt like it went from like -5 to the most unsettling, gross thing I've ever seen, back to like a 30.
Yeah.
It felt all over the board, and I liked it. I mean, I watched it a second time because I was like,
Oh, nice.
like a year later, like a year, like 6 months later, I watched it a second time.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see the gross parts again, the unsettling. The second half of the movie is extremely unsettling.
Yeah.
Is this the Netflix film that came out in like 2018?
Yeah.
Okay, it's starring the guy from Legion.
Yes.
Yeah, to tie
Yes.
into
Dan
my
Stevens.
recommendation.
Michael Sheen's in this, and the director is director of The Raid, in the second Raid. So,
Oh, hey.
you definitely get some of the physicality, but this is definitely not an action movie. You just get some of that, and the same amount of gore. I'd say that you got in The Raid in a short amount of time. And probably one of the grossest things I've ever seen in my whole life.
Right?
Phil knows what I'm talking about.
Oh,
Oh,
it's so
man.
bad.
I can't do fake gore, guys. If someone's actually bleeding on me, I'm totally fine with that.
Oh, really? I can't do either.
Fake gores. I know, Will.
See, this is when Jo is admitting to us that she's a serial killer.
Yeah, right? Oh, my God. Oh, it'd be good. It'd be a good disguise. That's why I wear these glasses now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It is
So
a
we
bit
don't know who you
Dahmer
are.
looking, you know?
Right? You should see when Tom wears them. He pulled them out, and I was like, you look like a pedophile. Like, you can't wear those. It was so bad. It's like, you can't go outside in them.
No.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my one and only recommendation besides Wicker Man. And if
So
you
you're
need any
saying-
recommendations for folk horror, I have a whole collection. So
Also, The Ritual. I'll put in another. That's another folk horror.
The
that
Ritual. I
recommended
think
1,001 times.
I have to go back into that one with knowing what's going to happen with the different eyes to it. I think.
Yeah. So let me back up a minute. So you're talking about Apostle,
Mhm.
and what you're really saying is we should watch this movie next, right? Will's giving a face like, please no. But I think what he means is, please yes.
Yes.
Is that
He would love to see this.
Yes.
Can't wait. I can't wait to be watching this movie and looking over at Craig's shit-eating grin as I am grimacing at everything, and he is laughing at me. Sounds like fun.
It's perfect. It honestly, the movie feels like it would be a perfect one night, one shot for a tabletop game where you're just trying to scare your friends, and then you maybe scare one of them too much, and they never come back.
That would be me.
Well, then I guess it's two of our friends, because it would probably be Will too.
We'd be gone.
You know,
I don't. Ugh.
I can have gore described to me, and I can describe gore. It's no problem. It's
just
seeing
the.
It's seeing it.
No, that's fair.
You know, like when we're playing D&D, and my brother has that rule where it's like finish them, which is like if you kill a guy, you get to come up with a horrifying way that you mutilated and murdered a human being, which adds to the fun.
Yeah,
I have no problem with all of that, but like, the second there's like fingernails moving and like people getting cut all the way down their arm, I'm hiding.
You know what it is for me, honestly? I have this weird phobia that I thought maybe was hyperbolic in my mind, but I don't like to touch like ketchup, and all I can think is that that's what that feels like to have the fake blood on them. And I thought I was maybe like making up how much I didn't like it, and I was talking to my bestie Becky about this, and she was like, "Jo, in college somehow either I got ketchup on my hands or someone squirted ketchup on me, and I freaked out so much that I ran into a door trying to get out of the cafeteria, like full on, like ran into a glass door." So like, I think I just am too like concerned about how that must feel. Like they're sitting there in like slime and they're wet and it's gross. If it's real blood, it's warm and someone's dying, so you're like fixated on that. You know what I mean?
So it's more the condition of the actors in the movie for you?
Really?
It's more like I'm thinking about, because we also do, so when teaching nursing, we do simulation, and we have like a sim blood simulation and it like
Yeah.
comes out of a mannequin and all this stuff. And there's like pieces of Jello and they like do a whole thing. I forget what it's called. There's a term for it. And
Super
it's
Fun
always
Time Tuesday.
exactly Super Fun Time Tuesday, but also Super Fun Time Thursday and Friday. Never Monday or Wednesday. Never. R.I.P. Jimmy Buffett. But at any rate, so that's why I don't like to touch it. You know, I don't know what it is. So I don't know. It's like an empathy thing for how they're doing.
Yeah.
The actual act doesn't bother me.
That's so interesting.
It's weird.
Joe, do you like horror movies at all because of that?
I do. I really like stuff that like I've loved all of the what's that guy that did all the good horror stuff that's come out on Netflix?
The horror dad.
Oh, Mike Flanagan.
No, you're talking about.
I love everything that I love. Did he do Midnight Mass too? Was that?
Yes, Midnight Mass.
I loved that, and it was also really gory. And also vampire stuff, Catholic trauma. Like there was a lot of guilt floating around.
There's
watching
so much
that.
to unpack in that show.
It was a lot. Phil and Steve and I were texting like, I have feelings. I don't know what to do. I can't repent anymore because I don't do that. But I like a lot of horror. I just don't like horror that's gory for gory's sake because I have to like put up with it. You know what I mean? But if gore is a part of it, I can handle it.
Yeah.
I'm a hoe for a good storyline. It doesn't really matter, like, you know, if there's gore.
Yeah, same. I always that was the one thing. Like, I always thought horror was like all surface and not a good story, you know? And half the time it kind of is, like, or at least that's how you're usually introduced to it, is like, oh, you're just someone's trying to scare you or gross you out or something. But yeah, I was terrified of horror movies as a kid because my imagination was too crazy, you know? And so like if there was anything with like ghosts or whatever in it, it was the scariest stuff ever, you know?
Yeah.
But now that I'm older, I'm like, I don't know, I was standing in my house in the darkness yesterday, no lights on, and I'm like, I'm so happy that this doesn't bother me.
And we think I'm the serial killer?
Oh, yeah.
We don't think...
Will's just standing in the dark in his house.
Yeah.
Caitlin walks in. How long have you been like this?
Yeah, like that would surprise nobody. It's like, oh, of the three of these guys, Will was the one who snapped? I had no idea that was coming.
Oh my gosh.
So speaking of gore,
Wait.
and like,
Wait, Will, what's your
Will,
recommendation?
You didn't recommendation anything.
yeah, that's what I'm doing.
He's
guys.
trying to segue.
Oh,
Speaking
okay.
of horror,
I
he's
thought you
going to
segued into the
recommend
movie.
horror.
Why would I say speaking of gore? We watched a movie about drag queens.
I didn't listen to what you were saying. Let's rewind.
No, I was speaking of more hyper violence. I went and saw a movie in the movie theater, like a grown up, and I saw.
Was it Grown Ups 3?
Nope, it was Boy Kills World.
Oh,
Yeah, so I knew nothing about this movie going in, other than I watched the trailer like right before we went, and basically the premise is that it's like a sci-fi dystopian future where this one family, like, it's basically the Kill Bill meets the Hunger Games. That's like the whole vibe of the thing. And so the main character is played by Bill Skarsgård. He actually doesn't have a name. His name is Boy, is how he's credited. He's trying to infiltrate the family who runs everything and kill everybody. Basically, it's a revenge plot story.
Nice.
And the thing that's fun and interesting and that drew me to it in the first place is that the main character is deaf and mute. So his inner monologue is played by H. John Benjamin, who most people know as Bob's Burgers or Archer.
Yeah, Bob Burger.
Bob Burger from Bob Burger.
Bob Burger. That's your name, Bob Burger.
Wait, what? Yeah. Yeah, and so it's a solid B movie. From ABC, it's not spectacular. It wears its influences like right on its sleeve, But what's kind of neat is it feels like it's based off. I was expecting it to be like based off a comic book by Mark Miller or something, but no, it's an original idea. So it's like people are like, Hollywood's run out of ideas. And I'm like, oh, did you see Boy Kills World? No. Well, okay. Because, they're not out of ideas. You just don't see the movies that you don't recognize.
Yeah.
Because it's much easier to talk about the new Marvel movie because everyone knows what you're talking about than to market something that's brand new. It's all marketing, guys. Hollywood's got plenty of ideas.
It can get stressful, and I feel like sometimes you just need to I don't know. I just wish there was somewhere where you could go to just vibe with, a margarita in one hand and a cheeseburger in the other.
Oh man,
some sort of paradise place.
That sounds great to me. I'm in.
Yeah,
I love margaritas.
Trying to think of one other Jimmy Buffett song. Cheeseburger in Paradise.
Parrot on your shoulder.
Jamaica Mistaka.
What's that one with the mustache? Pencil thin mustache.
Oh man.
There's Mexico.
I exhausted the two that I knew.
I know Cheeseburger
Last Tango
in
in Paris, right?
Gosh.
Oh man. Okay. So
We listened to a lot of Jimmy Buffett. R.I.P. I don't know if you guys know he died.
R.I.P. Jimmy Buffett.
Really sad. Yeah.
My dad listened to Buffett, and the people on podcasts where I talk about him way too much. So I know way more than I should about Jimmy Buffett.
It's good.
You should know everything about Jimmy Buffett. I would have pegged you for a Buffett head.
Would you peg-legged him for a Buffett?
I would have pegged. Oh, hey! Yeah. Solid.
I was going to say just pegged him, but then, because that felt more on brand, but then I felt like, PG. I don't know. We're talking about drag queens. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, to round out my recommendation, Boy Kills World, definitely worth a watch. It is a little bit more of a it felt a little bit like a Netflix movie, you know what I mean? Like a movie where it's like, hey, this is fun, it's not, but
you'll forget about it in a week.
Yeah, maybe. I wonder if you would though, because this one does like the whole premise of like him being mute and we hearing his inner monologue, and he's deaf, so he reads lips and stuff. So there's like a lot of interesting things that happen. Like there's a character who he can't understand. The whole every time he talks, he's like, "What is this? What is he saying?" And because nobody else knows that he's deaf and mute, So it's got and it has like a pretty. I knew that there was going to be a twist because it's a movie and there's always they got to put him in, but it was not the twist I was expecting at all. So it was, I say check it out. Wait for it to be free somewhere, but yeah, check it out.
I like it.
Cool.
Anyways,
I was seeing all the ads on the gram, and I was like, this sounds interesting.
Yeah.
And then I just didn't. I haven't. I'll see it someday.
Yeah, I know it's never going to get a sequel, but like the way that it ended, I was like, I actually think if it had a sequel, it would be better. So I was like, but I don't think it would have. There's no way. I don't think it made any money. So, oh well. All right. Speaking of making money, nope. Speaking of sequels, nope.
Speaking of following the inner monologue in your heart.
Pretty close.
That's good.
That's not so bad. We saw a movie. We saw, I don't know, To Wong Foo, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar. It's a 1995 American road comedy film directed by Beeban Kidron. It's starring Wesley Snipes, Patrick Swayze, John Leguizamo, Blythe Danner, Stockard Channing, and Arliss Howard, and Chris Penn. It's 105 minutes long, $30 million budget. It made for $47.8 million, according to Wikipedia, the most correct source. How do you guys think this movie is sitting on Rotten Tomatoes for the critic side?
Oh. I don't think it. I bet you like 62.
62?
58.
58. Craig, what do you think?
It's kind of where I was.
65.
Wait, Phil, what'd you say?
58.
Phil has it 48.
Ooh.
Oh, come on, man.
That's pretty.
Yeah,
low.
72 though audience score. So
there you go.
it is one of those that cult classic type.
I wonder if the critics ever look at that gap and think like, "Am I wrong?"
I have opinions.
Yes.
I feel like they're meant to be that voice, you know?
well,
like,
so-
I think that's why there are two, right? Like, audience and critic.
I mean-
I think I get it.
So, I mean, the way the critic system used to work was that they would get early screeners to movies and go see a movie before anybody else saw it, or listen to a record before anybody else saw it, or listen to it rather. And then they would write it, put it in the newspaper so that people knew what they were getting into to like get audiences informed, because there weren't like trailers like they are now. So then people would go. And yes, they like Queen, the band, had
What's the band called?
Queen. I don't know if you. Oh, this is a great band.
Are they new? Are
They're
they
not,
new?
They're not. No. No. Most of them are dead.
Are they indie?
No, but critics hated Queen. Like
That's
their albums.
so insane.
And there are at least 2 instances where like Rolling Stone like made an apology like later on, and like they reissued their review and were like, hey, so like we didn't know what we were talking about.
Rolling Stone is garbage. It always has been. It's awful.
Yeah.
They suck.
So yeah, occasionally they will go like, well, never mind. Let's not talk about this. So
you don't want to talk about Queen? I thought
No.
maybe you liked them a little bit.
no, I do want to talk about Queen, but I was actually going to jump into talking about Roger and Ebert, but then I was like, you know what? Never mind. Craig, you didn't pick this movie. Phil did, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Phil. Why did you pick this movie?
So sometime in 2023, when I was not picking any movie for myself, which sounded like a really cool, I'm going to have other people pick movies for me. It was really just me being lazy.
Right.
I didn't want to go through the effort of picking a single movie every like 3 weeks. So I just texted people to tell me to send movies to me. And I texted somebody here, can't remember who, and Joe texted
And we'll
me back
never
a
know.
list of like 6 movies. And this was on there. And I was like, ooh, I should get to this one at some point. And then last week I was kind of scrambling for what to pick. And then I texted Joe at the beginning of us recording. I was like, hey, we're recording right now. I don't know what movie to pick. What movie should I pick?
And then I replied.
And she was like, you
What did I-
said another recommendation. I think it was
what did
Tar.
I say? Oh, yeah, because I just love
But then
Tar
Craig
so
had just
much.
seen that recently. So I was like, ooh, wait a minute. Brain blast. Joe had recommended To Wong Foo a long time ago. And then we had just watched Roadhouse. And that has Swayze in it. I was like, this seems like the perfect time. So then I selected this movie. And I am not mad that I did.
Cool.
Had anybody seen it before? Am I the...
I had
I
not seen
had
it
not.
before. No.
Oh, so I'm the only one that had. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that doesn't happen often. Usually,
No, I'm
Craig has seen it.
surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, usually Craig or Will.
Right.
One of the two of you has seen it, unless it's something I'm bringing that is weird that I have seen, and you guys haven't seen it, and then you don't like it.
Yeah, that's true.
Phil, I
happens.
was listening to Once Upon a Time in the West soundtrack today.
It's so good.
I know. I want to give that movie another chance.
Pick it. Let's watch it again.
Yeah, let's just watch it again.
Redux.
Just do a year where you repeat every single one you did already. Isn't that a podcast where they watch the same movie every day for a year or something?
Yeah,
There's,
a number of people have done things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
There's somebody
You
who
guys
does
could
Paul
just
Blart.
do it in order. Oh, yeah. Paul Blart. Mall Cart.
Yeah.
Cop. I know
Cart.
it's Cop. I know.
Mall cart.
It does sound like it should be that, though, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Yeah, so I had not seen it. No one had seen it but Joe. Fun fact, spoiler alert, I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah. Joe, since this is kind of your recommendation, do you want to go first, say why you liked it, or would you rather wait till the end?
I have no opinion. I'm
Okay.
happy to.
Start us off.
Start us off.
Okay.
Then, I'd say.
Yeah.
Well, I love this movie for a lot of reasons. I've obviously seen it before. And I love drag so much. And it's interesting because the first time I watched it, it was a long time ago. I mean, it was many years ago, so I don't know how into drag I was yet. And so now watching it, I had a very different opinion, but it was even more joyful somehow. I just love how unserious it is. I
Yeah.
love how these like very masculine men are just crushing it as drag queens. Wesley Snipes is such a good drag queen. He's such a good woman. It's crazy. And yeah, it's just like a murderer's row of like guest stars. Like Blythe Danner is the freaking that's her name? Blythe Danner, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
She's a gem, and Stockard Channing is so good. The gal from 30 Rock that plays Don Geis's daughter is in it, which I didn't know until I rewatched it.
I saw that. I was like, oh my God, what is her name? It's like
I
Kathy
don't know
Geis.
it.
Kathy Geis.
Yeah, Kathy
I
Geis.
half expected
yeah.
her to just like spit out a race car at one point, but it didn't
Yeah,
happen.
for real. And yeah, it just is really good. It's a really heartwarming movie. I also think it's like culturally significant. It's relevant today, but also like reading about like the time that it came out is really interesting, and I think it's important. And yeah, I just really enjoy it. I mean, I won't go too much on a soapbox, but I love it. I wish there were more dance numbers, but that's kind of my opinion on every movie that I watch. I wish there was more lip syncing and dancing. But yeah, I love it. It's one of my top 10 for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know who wants to talk first.
Craig.
How about Will?
Yeah, me go.
Yeah.
How did I feel about this movie? Well, so I liked it. I definitely kind of knew I would like it going in because I sort of heard enough that I realized this was like a cult favorite of like so many people. So and the one thing of course that surprised me was just how much like I kind of like didn't see Patrick Swayze anymore. I didn't see especially John Leguizamo.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
I didn't
yeah.
I didn't even recognize him. You know, he just was what was her name? Chichi Rodriguez.
Chi-Chi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like that if in itself was like just kind of really fun to watch. It was also one of those things where I was like, Patrick Swayze's not like a pretty man. Like he's handsome, but like he doesn't look like a lady. He's gonna look like a dude in a dress the whole time. And yet they like picked all the right wigs and all the right outfits for him. And I was just like, oh, okay, I'm buying it, you know? I did have a question about drag queens. I don't know, Joe, if you know this.
Probably.
Do drag queens like typically stay in their?
No,
I thought it was okay. That was one of the things.
That's kind of like one of the biggest. I read a lot leading into this about like, because that's one of the biggest criticisms. Like drag queens don't sleep in drag.
Yeah,
like, it's like a performance. That'd be like if you were in the high school play and then you wore your costume at home, which I know Craig did, but I don't think anyone else did. It's because Craig was just wearing regular clothes. But it's one of the criticisms, and the director and the people that wrote it kind of said they were just trying to play into the camp of the movie.
Right.
And it was kind of a plot device, but absolutely not. I mean, some drag queens are trans, and some of them
that's what
are super flamboyant and like to wear stuff all the time, but I don't know anybody that goes to bed with makeup on.
Well,
that's just not a thing.
That's just not good for your skin.
Yeah,
it's
awful for your skin. No, it does sort of remind me of like watching old Eddie Izzard stand-up specials where she is calling herself an executive transvestite, you know, which isn't a term you would use now to describe, you know, trans. You just call that person trans now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was curious about that. I was like, like, so there was a part of me the whole time that kept going like just take it off. Take off
what
the
are you
wig.
doing?
That would solve it would solve some of the problem. I mean, obviously if you're like still incredibly flamboyant, you know, when you're traveling across America, you still could get beat up, especially in this time period. Absolutely. But like I was just like, if you're worried about them beating you up for being a drag queen, well, you could take it. And then I was like, well, if I say that, am I? Because like
that's a fair thought. I think one of the reasons why they decided to do that is exactly what you said.
Yeah,
is that it would have taken you out of the character. You would have just seen Patrick Swayze putting it on in a way that was
Yeah,
I don't know, just takes you out of the moment, out of the
Yeah.
character, kind of.
it also
So-
like, I was watching it, and I mentioned this on the last podcast where I was sort of like hesitant to watch it because I was like, I don't really like, they're drag queens played by straight men,
Yeah.
and it is sort of one of those like nowadays that wouldn't fly necessarily.
Right.
Here's my only bite on that is that because I feel like this happens a lot, and I'm not maybe well enough versed, but I guess I don't know 100% what's going on in Patrick Swayze's like mind,
Sure.
So like for me it's it's tough. I'm feeling it both ways where it's like
Yeah,
yes, that could have gone to somebody that maybe is more openly,
Yeah.
but it's he
But
could
not in
very much not
1995.
be-
Yeah, that's, I mean,
not in 1995,
Not to
right?
1995. Like now,
But even-
maybe.
no, the
Yeah,
the
now
fact
maybe,
that
but-
those two guys, like Wesley Snipes and Patrick Swayze, did this movie at all is like insane, right?
Yeah.
'Cause this was like the height of them, or like right before,
100%. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're doing this, and it's just like that in itself is like such a crazy flex. It's like,
Yeah.
um,
Well, and I don't know, Phil, if this is what you're getting at too, but it's like, actors in and of themselves are kind of drag queens just in general. I mean,
Oh,
the definition
100%.
for me is
Yes.
super vague. And Patrick Swayze's character, he's a drama queen for sure, and like takes his talent very seriously. And also, who knows where he is on any sort of spectrum?
Yeah,
Like, and
yeah,
it's not
no.
necessarily that he has to disclose
yeah,
to perform. But at the time, it had to be these,
Right,
cis,
right.
straight, masculine people that would bring people to the theater because it's all about exposure and
what's what I was
eating
saying.
an elephant bite by bite.
Yeah, it's marketing. That's what I was saying earlier with
Mhm.
and I'm not
I wanted
saying
to
I have a
mention-
problem. I'm not saying I had a problem with them being. I just worry sometimes.
No.
No, But when, you know what I mean. Like when you start reading
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
cast and you're like, oh, cool. There's no way they're gonna do this right. You know what I mean? Sometimes.
Well, they could have made a joke of it,
Yeah.
and they didn't. But they could have made a joke of it.
Yeah, that's
and
what I
so
was.
it
That
is
was what I was
important.
worried about. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I think
I read that
tonally,
the writer
go
is
ahead.
a gay person, a gay man, and so I was like, okay, then it's coming from at least somewhat of authority and not one of like, I'm assuming I know what this is like because, I'm a white dude. That's all.
100%.
That's why I was hesitant to watch it in the first place. That all
Yeah.
flew out of my brain once I started watching.
That's a
it.
fair skepticism.
Yeah.
And it just happened to be good.
So, just reading the IMDb trivia, says Patrick Swayze earned the role by improvising a 30-minute monologue inspired by the bullying he suffered as a boy studying ballet in Texas.
Oh, that's right.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Dude, Swayze
Uh,
rules.
Yeah, he was a dancer and like, yeah, he didn't want people to know that, and then he tried to, he was in Dirty Dancing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
they were like,
That movie's great.
yeah, he auditioned.
So good.
He was on like the audition sheet, and they were like, Patrick Swayze, we need a dancer. We can't do Patrick Swayze. And then he like showed up and did a bunch of dancing. They were like, oh,
What's
wait,
happening?
hang on.
Well, and that's kind of the whole point of like drag and when
Yeah.
you talk about like queerness and spectrums, it's like, what does it mean to be masculine or feminine? And that's what's so beautiful. And I think this movie aged really well versus if in 2005 you had done a review on this movie, you probably would have been a little bit more critical because things were a lot more tightly defined or put in
Mhm.
boxes. And we're still learning about different,
Yeah,
I don't know, modes of expressing that queerness. And,
even
it's
in the
great.
movie, Wesley Snipes like does it. He says like there
Yeah.
are three things. If if you're a straight man who wears a dress, you're a transvestite. If you do the surgery, you're transsexual. And if you're
Yep.
fabulous, a fabulous gay
Too
man,
fabulous
in
or too
every
much
aspect
fashion
of-
sense for one gender.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
a drag queen. Yeah.
But yeah, no,
I-
the three boxes. Nowadays we wouldn't necessarily
No.
put it all that way.
I also read that Patrick somehow during his audition, and whether this is, a legend, that he dressed as a woman. Yeah, apocryphal. Excellent word. Nice, Phil. Whether it's apocryphal that he dressed as a woman and walked around New York to see if he could like pass. And he
I
did,
heard
and
that
that was
as
like
well.
part of it. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. But
So I just I'll make this my my opinion part.
Yeah,
I
give
just
your
like
opinion, you nerd.
you're like Will said, I was a little hesitant to watch the movie just because I felt like it was going to be like, this is a comedy about straight white men playing drag queens that was released in 1995, I believe. So it's like this is not going to age well, like
It
at
has all
all.
the ingredients of being
Oh
very
yeah,
bad.
Yes,
oh my god,
problematic.
And it is surprisingly, it has aged very well. They don't make a joke out of it. There's no there's the because I've never enjoyed is any movie where someone is pretending to be another gender and then there's a person who falls in love with them.
Yep.
And then it's just played up as a joke. And
yeah, it's the Bugs Bunny
like
thing.
Ace Ventura,
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
And at the end, there's no oh my god, I can't believe that it was a man the whole time, and no, that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
it's just
it's almost to the detriment of the movie at a certain point, where like suddenly this whole town is all on board, like these guys who are being like really, really aggressive in the first time you see them just suddenly are like, you know what, it's fine, you're all drag, who cares? And to me, I was kind of going like, hey, this isn't believable. And then I kind of was like,
yeah,
wait, what did I just say?
if you're like really playing up the camp, like if this was directed by John Waters, I think people would have just taken it like, okay, this is pure camp. I don't care that they're not taking off their makeup and everything. And yeah, are every part of this believable? No, I don't think so. Is it about people inspiring others to be better? Yes, and I think that's a great thing then, and it's a great thing now. And does the movie have some weird twist in terms of like it turns from a road movie into we're stuck in a podunk town?
Yeah,
very quickly.
It goes from a road trip movie to almost like a Western. It feels like a samurai movie or something. Like they arrive in this dusty old town and they need to save it. And even like there's a showdown with the sheriff at the end.
I was going to say he's like on top of like a saloon looking building. It
Calling
is very
him out.
bad.
So my other criticism is like it felt overlong. I was just sort of like, wait, this movie has morphed like 8 times and we're halfway through and now the movie has actually started. And I was like, boy. But that's also partially because we submit ourselves to doing this every week. So I'm always sort of looking at the clock going like, how long is this one going to take? When am I going to get to bed tonight? You know? So that's,
Yeah. I liked a lot about, I mean, the things that are so relevant too is like, I wrote down all these things about just the themes that are so relevant. I mean, first off, this movie is so freaking quotable. I fully intend to say TVW the very worst in my daily vocabulary now. That was incredible. But I thought it was really interesting when they talked about like, I saw a lot of issues of like being trans and like what a lot of trans folks go through, like with the ID, with the bathrooms, with, the fear. I thought that was so interesting that a movie that was, in the height of the AIDS pandemic. I mean, I wrote down in 1995, which when this came out, the leading cause of death for Americans aged 25 to 44 was AIDS.
Wow.
When this movie came out. So that in and of itself too really kind of anchors why it's so important to see someone like Wesley Snipes, particularly a man of color, John Leguizamo, and then this like masculine man, Patrick Swayze in those roles. But yeah, I loved how they kind of navigated that in a way that didn't feel phony. It felt like there was depth to it, of like they went into the bathroom and they were like how they did that, or the ID in his panic. He's like, my ID says Eugene. And you feel that in a way that's digestible. And I think it's always important to start with like the appetizer with stuff like this. Like you can't get into the heavier movies that are really, I mean, actually, I'm sure Philadelphia came out sooner, but there's this idea of like making it more, I don't want to say more palatable because that's not the right thing, but if you are going to have change, you have to start somewhere. It's like you have to start with a bite that everybody can get into and look at that and
there's
see the beauty in it.
you sent me an article, and Will and Craig, I'll send it to you guys because it was really good. There was something that the article said about sort of the movie being, like you said, quote unquote palatable, or not like
Right.
it's not the right word, but like making it a little bit easier
Accessible.
to digest, or
Yeah.
versus something like Philadelphia that would have come out somewhere in that same general region.
It's like 93.
Being
I was gonna say, I
like
think it was
kind
before,
of
yeah.
one of the winning qualities of the movie, because it isn't what did they say? It was something about Philadelphia makes you, or a movie like that will make you cry for the person in it, and then forget about it after you're out of the movie and still treat that person horribly.
Correct.
This is a movie that kind of, it isn't making you cry for these characters. It's just making you like them.
Yeah, it is. It's very situational comedy in that way, and it's relatable in the sense because we've all like been pulled over by the cops and like been like, oh shoot, like even though this doesn't say my ID, my name isn't different, but you've been in a situation where you're like, I don't have my license, I don't have you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like
Yeah.
it's all very relatable, and also just like, you know, the way that they're just like going to a small town, even if you're not in drag, is uncomfortable. You know,
100%.
like so.
Yeah,
and
the like insular nature of a town like that would be uncomfortable for anyone. Then add on top, it's digestible. It's the appetizer. You can relate so easily to the person, and it's a really easy way to like, oh well, if I can relate to this person in this way, can I relate to them in other ways?
Yeah.
I think too, because whenever I said palatable, and I immediately was like, oh, I wanted to take it back because I never want like gay, queer, trans folks to feel like they need to be palatable for anybody.
Right.
Because,
yeah.
and you can bleep me, but like, all that. Like, I'm
Yeah,
not here for that. But I do think what is interesting about it is when you make it accessible, but in a sincere way, it resonates deeply with people, as opposed to trying to make it palatable on purpose, and that's the overarching goal, and then it's just falls flat. Like, and that's why it's like I can apply that only in hindsight, that this is this beautiful digestible morsel of empathy and joy, and you don't see a lot of queer joy, especially in 1995. People were dying, and it's like, how do we make it so people, you know, care? Like you said, Phil, I think it breaks down those barriers.
That I think was one of the reasons I loved it so much, is that like it really was, you know, you can make a movie that's like about a terrible thing that happened to a queer person in some time,
right?
You know, or now times, and it can be a wonderful, great movie, and you can still relate to it. But I think for me, it like,
but I mean,
it hits so much harder when it is not it. And I want to preface this because it's not like I'm saying, oh, it's just a story about 3 people. Because it's not. It's very much about 3 drag queens, 3 queer people. But it's just so joyful to watch that like I'm instantly sucked in. I'm having a great time watching the movie. And I'm already, you know, I already watch RuPaul's with Jack sometimes. So like I'm already a fan of the vibe. But like now I just like, I like these 3 characters. You know, you fall in love with these characters, and obviously Patrick Swayze is Leonardo. It's clear. I mean, you guys can claim one of the other ones is one of the other turtles, but that's fact.
Canon. It's a canon moment.
Yeah.
He's got the nicest legs. Holy crap. Patrick Swayze.
Patrick Swayze is a handsome human being.
He is a handsome.
My
and
God.
I'll tell you,
R.I.P.
the one thing I found distracting, R.I.P. him and Jimmy Buffett, you know.
Hanging out in heaven.
The eyebrows, how they did the
margaritas.
makeup on their eyebrows was so distracting for me because most drag queens block their boy brows and then
And
draw
put on a new
on.
one. Yeah.
Which again, that's like just modern. And I kind of also like the fact that they're like, here is my Patrick Swayze face with makeup on top of it, and instead of trying to look different. But I just the whole time was like, I loved his wigs when he had bangs because I did not want to see his eyebrows. They were driving me crazy.
I mean, that is interesting. Like this movie, it almost speaks to more of a trans experience than a drag queen experience, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. did we get everyone's opinion? I just want to make sure we've been talking for a while and we just everyone enjoyed it, right? Craig, did you say
Craig
yours?
gave his vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But oh man, I think I don't know what. Does anyone else have anything else to say? What else we?
Well, I wrote down so many quotes that
Okay.
I was just I kept it took me
That was it.
almost twice as long because I had to keep rewinding.
Yeah.
But when Rachel Tensions, which was RuPaul, came down,
Yeah.
like that, what I loved about RuPaul coming down in a freaking
Confederate flag.
Confederate flag
flag.
dress is that's like drag. A lot of people, some of the criticism from like the LGBTQIA plus community was that it wasn't subversive enough, because drag is very subversive. But I'm like, RuPaul came down in a Confederate dress. Like, what more would you like? Like, and her name was Rachel Tensions. I laughed so hard at that.
Oh my God, I just got that.
Yeah.
Rachel Tensions. Yeah, right? Drag names are so fun. It's so fun. Or when they all said the little Latin boy in drag is crying.
Yeah.
And they just kept saying that. Like, oh, I just wrote down so many things. And like Vita's hats were really good.
So I remembered who I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about Chris Penn's character because he is the sheriff, right?
Oh,
yeah.
God,
He's really good.
So like he's the worst at the beginning.
Yes.
Like throughout the whole movie, he is the worst. But he's fun to watch because he is like he sexually assaults. Yeah, and he sexually assaults
movie.
Patrick Swayze's character. And what was his character's name? What was her name?
Sheriff Dollard.
No. Vita is Patrick Swayze's character.
Vita, Vita Bohème.
Yeah,
like
so
La Vie Bohème.
Yeah. So he sexually assaults Vita and she knocks him out.
Right.
And so then he wakes up the next day and he's like, they were dudes dressed as ladies, and so he's got to he's going through something heavy the whole movie. And the heavy thing is like him just like grappling with like it's slightly subtext and also out loud that he like fell for men in drag. And you know what I mean? And like the one scene,
releasing something in him.
Yeah, and the one scene of him at the bar.
Oh my God.
Just like shouting about men like making love to each other, and he's just like,
and their
arms
hair
on
their chest
hair, and like he's playing it, and it's
you
funny.
Cuddle, they hug you so tight, so tight,
and he's playing it, and it's funny, but it's also like I don't know how to describe it. It was. You could see a man breaking on the inside.
Yes.
And he was just like losing, but it was, I loved it.
It totally fractured his sense of masculinity.
Yes.
And he clearly, I think, like, if there was a sequel, he would be gay. Like, he would have come out. Because it's just like, I totally read that he had this internalized homophobia and he was super gay. And was like, oh, crap. Like, as he's talking about that.
I feel like in the sequel, he makes it to Hollywood and like studies under one. He like joins one of their families, one of their drag families.
I also thought he looked like Jonah Hill meets like somebody.
Sean
I thought
Penn?
of it. Oh, like James Caan. But I mean, obviously now I did not realize he was related to Sean Penn. Like that is that. I mean, I assume they're brothers, right? But he looks like Jonah Hill and James Caan to me. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wrote down like he had this very internalized homophobia. Another thing that I really liked was. There's so many parts that I love, but I loved when Stockard Channing's character is just like Adam's apple. He's like trying to tell her that he's a man in a dress. And she's like, we all knew that. Like, it's kind of like, I don't know if you guys have heard that joke. I think it's a Tina Fey joke where it's like the hardest part about a friend coming out is pretending to be surprised.
Right.
And it's like that kind of vibe of like, everybody knows somebody that's either gay or trans or queer or, intersex or something on that spectrum. You just they might not have said it out loud. And I loved how they navigated that beautifully, especially in the context of his parents not accepting him.
Yeah.
And then when she said, I love you, Vita Bohème, I was like, because he's like, that's all I wanted, which again goes back to the trans experience of like, talk to me in the name that I want to be spoken to, which I think is really beautiful. I loved it.
Yeah,
What were the other?
I felt like Wesley Snipes' character Noxima kind of got the least amount of like growth and like character development as opposed to the other two, but I did really enjoy her relationship with the old lady who like wasn't
Yeah.
speaking, and
Yeah.
like her
Mhm.
just like trying to like chasing her with the paper. She's like,
Yep.
okay, this isn't funny anymore.
Dude,
And-
do you know what I watched twice was when I said Wesley Snipes running in heels. Oh no, girlfriend, did you just do a Yui? I watched that scene so many times because
Yeah.
the old lady I'm like, was this improv? Like, what is going on? And he's just like click clacking along.
yeah, in gravel.
I agree that like his character had the least growth, but I also feel like his character didn't need to grow as much.
It was
Like he
true,
felt
yeah.
very
Yeah.
like when he was like you could just see through, and I have always have this lens like being a nurse and a teacher, but like when he was talking about when the what's her nuts was getting like being abused by her partner above them.
Yeah.
And Wesley Snipes was like, that's not our business. It's like his character comes from trauma.
Yeah.
And so like he's grown. But I would have loved, this is why I wanted them to do like lip sync, or when they were on the tables like doing their walk, I'm like, we need more voguing. But you could tell with the little that they did, it probably wasn't that good because they like didn't edit. They were like, they did like this once, like a little bit of a vogue, and then they stopped, and I was like, oh, it probably wasn't that great.
Yeah.
But I loved their characters so
That's
much.
funny that that's what you saw like in the I would have never gotten there. That like, the reason why they didn't do it more is because they weren't good at it.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
I mean, Patrick is a really good dancer, but like Vogue and like the way that a lot of drag queens dance is very it's improv and it's very dirty and like it's not elegant, and he's such an elegant human being. I mean, that's why he was so good at Vita. I loved the characterization of that person. Like you knew everything about her by the way she dressed, did her hair, her makeup. It's just incredible. I'm trying to see if there's any other quotes I wrote down. TVW, the very worst. Look at your eyes, they're as blue as window cleaner. I'm gonna use that one. And then when he said, "Hun, do you ever not cry in this room?" Which totally diffused the situation because she's like literally being abused, but he's like, "We're gonna make it funny because what else are we supposed to do? I'm gonna help you later," kind of thing.
Yeah, I wrote down, and you touched on that when touched on this when we were talking about Wesley Snipes' character Noxima. Is like there was a couple of confrontations between the three ladies, and it's like interesting because they're all like, you know, one is Latina, one is black, and one is white, and you see that when they're trying to figure out how to fix this problem, and especially when like Patrick Swayze, the white person, Vita's like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get involved.
Yep.
And it's like very white saviory, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is what you do. You go in and you fix the problem for somebody else.
Absolutely.
And and then, Noxima's like, everyone stay out of their business. You just make more problems, which is very much like, well, yeah, if you grew up black in America and you're like, we're in middle America, I'm a black man in drag, I'm not getting involved in this because this is how you die.
Absolutely not.
It rings true. This is what I like about it. Is like the characters feel so sincere in that way, and like he doesn't get involved. Noxima's like not doing anything until she grabs Tommy's balls, like walks him over to the ladies, and it's like when she hits, she's gonna hit hard, and you're not gonna win. But she's not gonna do anything unless she, feels safe. And Wesley Snipes in green is a vision. Whoa. That one little nightie was so pretty. I have a lot of opinions on the outfits. We don't have time for that, but
and this isn't. It would be better if this was a visual medium because then we could show them, but like we won't be able to describe them.
I'll just send you guys the PowerPoint presentation. It's like I think it's 42 slides. I cut it down from 60, so I'll send it to you.
Listen though, if you're gonna suggest the concept of a PowerPoint party, I am there.
Tom wants to throw one really bad where we
I
explain
want to go.
what we
If
do.
he does,
so
let me know and I
you're
will fly
invited, Phil.
in.
You can come. You're always invited.
I want to do a PowerPoint party. I love making PowerPoints.
They're fun, man, especially when they are not super meaningful.
Yeah, I did want to convince Jack's family to go on vacation to near Capitol Reef National Park. And I had like where we were going to go, what we were going to do. I had it planned out. I had like 30 slides. But we didn't make it back for Christmas, so I had to do it while Jack filmed me with the phone on FaceTime, and it was much less fun.
Oh,
But
man.
I will say, Victoria, my niece, afterwards was like giving presentations for like a week or two, and I was like, well,
that's so cute.
that's absolutely precious.
That's so cute. Do you want to know something awful that I do to my students?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you had to say
No,
yes, or
no,
I
I
wasn't going to
don't.
proceed. Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah. So
nice
I
talking
wanna
to you,
stop.
Will. I'm gonna
Close
go.
your ears, Will. I want to hear
I'll
it.
stop recording. No, sometimes they're really quiet during simulation. We do simulations for the clinical students. So I have 7 students and we're sitting in this small room and I'm always like loud and perky, which is really annoying. But it is what it is. I'm not apologizing for it, but I ask them a question and there'll be this group I had just now. They were lovely, like so wonderful. I've had the best students, but they were super quiet when it came to answering questions. And so I would stand up in front of them and I would start flossing and I would say, I'm not going to stop flossing until you answer. And they answered so freaking fast. I'd start doing it and they'd be like, what is blah, 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 blah,
Gotta
blah.
end that cringe. Can't be cringe.
They
No
couldn't
cringe.
handle it. It was great. I was like, I've unlocked the key. I just have to make a fool of myself.
Yeah,
which
you
is
just got to get them
easy.
embarrassed. No cap.
No, I use that Riz and the no cap and the no ankle socks, that whole TikTok, you don't stop, baby. Brush my teeth with a bottle of gin.
Kessels
Jimmy
are cool.
Word. R.I.P. Jimmy
R.I.P.
Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett. Salute his shorts.
Ugh,
I hate it when Phil does this, and I hate that you're encouraging it.
Yeah.
I know. It's the best.
It's the best.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. Craig's my oldest friend that I have in the world. So
Mm-hmm.
Craig
Also-
is technically my oldest friend.
that's true. I've known him
He's
longer.
105.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say he's my oldest friend
Hey-o.
too, because literally he's the oldest person I know.
I think, Phil, how you started it off, the approval neither desired nor required was A+. I had a friend when we were in New Orleans, and she said, I'm trying to be authentic and unbothered. And it reminded me of that. My friend Justine said that. And we all were like, put that down on crochet it on a
write that
pillow.
down.
Like, that is beautiful. But
It
that's a
reminds
similar
me
vibe.
Of the... I have seen the internet call it out as maybe it's not the best, but for me, the best possible advice I've ever heard was from RuPaul. And that's where I heard it. It's been attributed to multiple people, but it was what other people think of me is not my business, and that blew my mind.
RuPaul's got some good isms.
Like someone else's personal thoughts are not my business, even if they're about me. And I was like, ooh, it
brilliant.
was good. I think about
Yeah.
that like every day.
I'm getting much better at that because like when you go on the internet,
Yeah.
people just put their opinions on your things.
Ooh.
And so I have gotten so much better at just kind of going like I think what it was realizing how much younger so many people who are chronically online are.
Yeah.
And like so I did those videos on the Pokemon. I don't know if you guys saw any of those.
Yeah.
And someone's like, nothing's cringier than a Gen 1er. And I had to like look up all the words to figure out what that meant.
Gen
Which Gen 1er?
Is
Gen
somebody who
1
only
for
likes Gen 1?
Generation 1?
Yeah.
Or Pokemon Generation 1? Like,
Oh
there's, like-
my god.
Right.
and when I like kind of realized like I had accidentally like stepped into like a weird world, but it was like a younger kid world that
Yeah.
I it was just sort of like, it was like, oh yeah, I'm just your grandpa. Like, and like once I
Yep.
kind of like realized that it, but like, yeah, for the longest time, it's so hard to like, just like when you hear people criticize, you want to be like, I'm going to tell you why you're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, but
That's the gift of getting older, though, is that
Yeah,
you
right.
are like you just you emotionally, physically, in every capacity cannot let go of it when you're in your 20s. But when you're in your 30s and pushing 40, you just don't care as much because you feel very strongly about who you are. And I think that is demonstrated in the movie by the different ages of these queens and how they like encourage and bring people in and help them grow into the best version of themselves. And that's what drag is. Talk
And
about
that's-
drag
I
race
mean-
and drag in general. It's all about.
That's why I've always been drawn to like gay culture a little bit.
Yeah.
I grew up. My favorite band was Queen. Eddie Izzard's my favorite stand-up.
Yeah.
I was always drawn to that, and the part that I was drawn to wasn't the sex with men part. It was the like.
It was the blowjobs.
Yes,
I'm
correct.
kidding. Sorry. But no, I really
set
love
you up. It was perfect.
I'm really loving this sentiment, and I totally derailed it, and I'm so sorry. I'm an asshole.
No,
it's fine.
You took
It's
my
fine.
place.
It's fine. I'm just gonna go.
No,
go.
please. I
Yeah,
really
there's
love
two
what you're
films right now.
saying.
No, it's okay.
I'm so sorry.
No, it is the whole like just sort of like the whole idea of like coming out and like saying like this is me and being okay with that.
The
and that
authenticity.
Kind of thing. Like the authenticity of that was something I never felt growing up.
Yeah.
Because I was a little boy. Like it was just such a funny moment when like I realized that like literally all of my friends were still watching Dragon Ball Z, but we were all too embarrassed to talk about it with each other.
Oh my god!
Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
where you're just like, oh, right. You know what I mean? And then of course when you would be like, you know what? I don't care what anybody thinks. And I used to wear like bright orange shirts.
Yep.
And then people would just like throw stuff at the back of my head, and I'd just be like, okay, I'm not gonna do that one anymore. You know.
Yeah.
And so, so I've always like just sort of like gravitated or liked that kind of stuff for the simple fact of it's like, yeah, man, I wish I could just, well, and you're right. As I get older and now that I have kids, like I walk around in a brightly colored shirt holding hands with a 4-year-old, like nobody cares. You know what I mean? Like,
that's cool.
And I'm not sure anyone cared before, but now it's really evident that like people are
just
like
feel it, like you feel it less, you know, that self-consciousness of that's why I would never, the self-consciousness of youth is not worth the good skin. Like it's just not, in my opinion. And
that's a fair
write
point.
that down.
Yeah, it's just true. It's like I love being like I enjoy, and I'm similar, Will, in that like I love queer culture. Like I embed myself in it very deeply, and I absolutely love it. And I find there's something that resonates too, where it's just like, oh, you can just do whatever you want anytime, as long as it's not hurting other people. You can like what you like. There's a community for you. There's a family. There's, you know, it just is so beautiful. And then to see people doing bold things is so impressive. But yeah, you couldn't pay me to go back 15 years. I've been saying I was 37 for the last like 2 years, and my birthday is on Friday, and I'll be 37. Like I just like want to be older. That's why I'm wearing these glasses and I don't dye my hair.
Yeah, it's like I when I turned 30, someone was like, "Aren't you sad your 20s are over?" I'm like, "No, I'm rejoicing. I hated my 20s. But I was, you know, in high school, I hated being a freshman, liked being a senior.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
When you like, so like it feels that way now where it's like, yeah, I you know, and I talk to younger guys who are doing like video work, and they're like asking me for advice, and I'm like, I remember when I was you, and I can condescend to them like the old guys condescended to me when I asked them how they got there.
Yeah,
and
get them.
Yeah, I can make them just Gen Zers feel bad about their choices.
But that is something I do love about Gen Z, although there are some like rules, and there's always, you know, the drama of being a youth. There is this level of like being feminine in any capacity, regardless of your gender, is very accepted. Because being masculine in any capacity is pretty well always been accepted, or at least in most cases. But being feminine is what people hate.
The pants. Women wearing pants was like, okay, fine.
Yep.
But you know, I used to always make this point when I was younger. It was like, right, but like if I wear a dress, I become something else. I become trans. I become this. I become that. You can put on a pair of pants, and you're still just you.
Yep.
You know.
Well, and you know, there is, and again, I don't know if, you know, either Will or Craig are going to get into Drag Race after this. You should. It's wonderful. But there is, neither of you have time. You have children. I get it.
I don't like reality TV.
It's also fine. But
fair,
there happens to
That's
be
the biggest thing why I won't watch
a
it.
cis straight drag queen that competed. And so he's a man. He's in a relationship with a woman. I do believe his name's Maddie Morphosis. He's a really great queen. I think that at some point he had thought about like maybe transitioning, but didn't, and identifies as a man and is in love with a woman. And there was a lot of controversy around that. And part of it is because, and I won't get into the whole thing. First off, I thought it was great. I think it's important to, again, drag is meant to be subversive, but there haven't been any of what they call like bio queens. So like women that do drag. There's only been one bio queen, not the original Drag Race. And so it's a whole thing of like, we still can't accept femininity even though it's a drag race.
Yeah, gatekeeping exists
in every culture, every subset, every whatever. But again, I think like when you go back to this movie, it's just a beautiful, this like tasty morsel of like joy and sincerity.
Oh, the movie, right?
Oh
right.
yeah, did
yeah,
that happen?
I thought we were just having we're recording. Oh no.
I thought we were just doing collective therapy.
I could talk about this stuff with y'all for forever because this is very near and dear to my heart, and like I think it's beautiful, and I love that about this kind of stuff. But the movie really, it's so sincere, it's so authentic, and I think it brings up stuff like this, these conversations of like, how were you bullied? Like we all did theater and band, and all of us did drag. Like I was a pirate in my first show. Like I did drag. Like you know, and that's super was normal, but also we kind of winked at it in this like uncomfortable way. And I don't think
girls dressing up like guys, you know, again, like that was something you could just do. Oh, we have more girls than guys in this show.
It was badass. It was like considered cool, as opposed to if you did it, it would be considered something else.
I would have been tarred and feathers.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And
correct.
So
it's interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did anybody do girl parts in any of our theater shows? Like a guy? That wasn't designed that way?
No, definitely not.
There just weren't enough guys to do it.
Well, one, there weren't enough guys to do it, and they would never have suggested that. You know what I mean? Like
that wouldn't have been allowed.
No, I don't think so.
In trouble.
No. Yeah.
Absolutely,
we would have gotten in trouble.
I think my sister Anne played more guy parts than she did girl parts.
That's right. She was Anne was the best. I mean, she remains the best, but I loved seeing her in any role. She was so good. Incredible.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready to give this a rating?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right.
Joe, do you want to go first or last? Or no, Craig, what was that?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you can go.
Okay, I just want to get this one out of the way.
Okay.
So, I want to preface my rating. I really like this movie. I would like to see it again. I think some of the plot point things.
He's about to give it a 3. Here he goes.
No, aren't perfect.
Maybe a 2.
Oh no.
Mouse has been really silent.
Okay,
this whole
good.
time.
So I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5.
Oh.
4 out of 5. Flower shops, ballet schools, flight attendant lounges, restaurants for brunch, antique shops.
I was dying with that stupid list.
Oh,
loved
so
it.
Good.
It was like he had like a Blue's Clues clipboard with giant writing.
Yes.
Places for.
Yeah. Oh man.
Incredible. A 4 out of 5 is great. Why did you feel you had to preface that?
Well, because we've been giving 5 out of 5s to like everything lately, and so
we really
have.
Feel bad. We've also been picking good movies.
It doesn't. It's not. You don't like this movie for the plot. Like that's fair, and it's.
Yeah.
I'm not offended.
All right. Who wants to go next?
Phil, all you big.
Go.
I should have just told somebody to go. I don't know why I did that. Never did it that way. Never asked.
You have Joe and you have me, and you've asked us to volunteer.
Phil, why don't you go next?
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5. Possibly dead Sheriff Dullards.
Very
love
good.
that.
When that happened, I just turned to Caitlin and Craig. I'm like, he can't be dead. And Caitlin's like, what? She had seen it before.
Yeah.
She just kept going like, well, watch the movie. I'm like, he's not dead. There's no way he's dead.
No way he's dead.
They can't be dead from that.
That'd be a very different movie if he was actually dead.
I just really liked when he comes back to the town.
Yes.
Vita is like, they're like, oh, what's going on? And Vita's like, oh, it's our possibly dead Sheriff Dullard.
Yes.
And I just thought that was the funniest line.
It's so good. You know what, though? If John Waters had directed, he definitely would have died.
Yeah.
And they would have accidentally had him connected to the car and like dragged him off, and it would have been. I kind of wish maybe there was another universe where we could watch that version.
Yeah,
it'd be really good.
All right, I will go next so that we'll end out with Joe. But I'm gonna give this movie. You know, I'm listening to Craig a little bit here on this, and I do think that I thought it wrapped up a little too nicely for my like tastes in films. I felt myself kind of feeling a little hollow at some of the whole town coming together.
Sure.
Because I did kind of want a little more of like, I don't know, confirmation, acknowledgement of pain. You know what I mean? I'm a big revenge guy, which is why I like
Sure.
Boy Kills World. No, I don't know. I'm spiteful. That's it. No, but I'm going to give this movie a 4.5 Welcome Ladies Basketball League out of 5.
Oh, that scene was so good too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. I
Yeah.
think it would be homophobic if you guys gave 5 out of 5s just because you felt like you had to. So I'm proud of you
It's
for
true.
not
It's true.
feeling like you had
Yeah.
to.
Phil, you hear that? Phil?
Yeah.
No, Phil probably really liked it though. Like that's the thing. Like Phil probably wanted to rate it. I'm not calling you homophobic, Phil. Oh my god.
Just we're better is what I'm hearing.
I just
Anyways,
had so
Joe,
much
your turn.
fun.
I
I can't
mine
rate anything
is-
less than a 5 because it was just so much fun. I
Yeah,
was
it
so
was a very
happy
fun
after
movie.
it.
Yeah, it does give you like my face hurts from smiling. And like I recorded on my phone and turned it into a GIF. Patrick Swayze taking away the princess points because it's like the worst like air what are they called? Like air traffic control directions I've ever seen. It's like awful. But I'll say for me it's definitely a 5 out of 5. Vita Bohems of the Manhattan Bohems. That made me laugh so hard. It's like just like so unserious. Like of course you know the Manhattan Bohems, but she kind of was like, do you know what I'm talking about? No? Okay, cool. Happy to be here.
I got away with it.
My
great.
alternative was going to be 5 out of 5. Robin Williams was in this, and we've been talking for an hour and a half, and we didn't even mention it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you know what's interesting? They wanted him to play Vita, but he said he was too hairy, which is true.
He
And
is.
then
very
he
hairy,
said
yeah.
he would guest star in it, I guess, because I think he and Patrick were really good friends, right? Am I making that up?
Maybe.
That
I might
sounds
be making
right.
that up.
I know he also has been was historically like a pretty good
Christopher
ally.
Reeve. Christopher Reeve is who I'm
Yeah,
thinking
Christopher
of.
Reeve was his good friend. Bobcat
They were-
Goldthwait was
yeah.
his other. But Christopher Reeve, him and they went to school together.
Yeah,
Him and Christopher Reeves.
I'm getting him and
Yeah.
Patrick mixed up. But
Yeah.
you're right, Phil. He's a great ally. Like Birdcage and how he handled the press with that is A+.
All right. So that was that movie. Congratulations, all of us.
Hey, Will. Oh wait, you have to say who's doing their thing next. Never mind. It's you.
Okay. What?
It's your movie.
Oh,
next.
right. I'm picking the movie next. So I am torn between
By Natalie Imbruglia.
Yeah.
Ah!
Oh.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, you know
you
it.
You
No.
definitely
Okay.
do.
Oh. Okay. I know what you're talking about now. No, I either want to watch the original Planet of the Apes,
Ooh.
which I haven't ever seen, and it just showed up on Disney Plus, or Babe Pig in the City.
Wild flip.
That is, yeah. That's
Wow.
This is a
Dang.
7-10 split right here.
What do you
Wow.
guys feel like watching?
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm always coming in with the weird ones.
I
just-
ooh.
Joe, which one should we watch next?
Yeah.
Babe,
All right, we're doing Babe Pig in the City
Yes.
next.
I just
Okay.
really want to watch it now that you said it. It's so cute.
So it's oh my god, what is his name? I always forget it. It's the
I
guy who
can't
did
remember.
Mad Max.
But now that I have a herding dog, it makes me want to watch this movie.
Oh, Remy.
Yeah. No, Arrow's the herding dog. Remy's the one
Oh,
that ate my
hurting.
hearing aid.
I thought you said hurting, like with the
Oh.
hearing aid in the tummy.
No, she's
Oh.
fine. Her stomach is made of steel.
Perfect.
Arrow's the herding dog.
Hurting. Yes. Fitz doesn't herd.
George Miller.
He
He's the
birds.
guy who did Mad Max, and then he oscillates between doing Mad Max films and like children's movies. So,
I
funny.
like that.
He's got like a fun. He did like Happy Feet, and I think the first Babe too. I don't know.
yeah. He did both babes.
Yeah, he did.
Heyo.
Playo.
Yeah, but this one he directed. He didn't
He's
direct
got Riz.
the first one.
Oh, okay.
Anyways.
Bet.
So yeah, I think now we're moving on to the. Oh, before that, Joe, thank you very much for coming out.
Thanks
Thanks
you
for
for coming
having
on the
me.
show.
This
It's
is so
always a
fun, you
pleasure.
guys. I love all of you as individuals, and I love the show, and it's really fun to be a part of it. Thanks for including me. I appreciate it.
Caitlin is always excited. Like Caitlin loved the last time you were on, so she was like, "You got to get Joe back on again."
I
She's been
love
saying it for a
Caitlin.
while.
I'm such a big fan of
So,
hers. She
yeah.
loves this movie, I assume, right? This is
Yes.
Yeah. I
We
assume
watched
so.
it together. It was Craig came over and Caitlin and I and him watched
Nice.
it. So that was
And
fun.
Caitlin and I only talked over parts of the movie.
Nice.
Not
Turned
the
the
whole thing.
subtitles on, so I wasn't mad.
Just a couple parts. Incredible.
Thank you for liking and subscribing to the podcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. If you want to tell us who you think the Ninja Turtles are this time, Phil already said one of them. Give us the
Listen,
rest
okay.
of them, Phil.
Okay, so here's where I'm having trouble because I feel like Noxemo is obviously Donatello.
Hmm?
No, I knew you were going to give me that look,
Noxema does machines.
but I just that feels right to me
Yeah.
because I cannot decide between Raphael and Michelangelo for Chi-Chi. Because like a little more like comedy, but also like very Raphael is pretty emotionally outward. And I feel like Chi-Chi is as well. And so I've been thinking about this since I mentioned Leonardo earlier, and I cannot. That's where I'm sitting, and I can't decide.
I don't know what to tell you, man. Hey, if you want to, if you want to join the conversation, we're on TikTok now. Where all
Somebody
the kids
help
are.
us. We
Yeah,
need
help
to know.
us figure this out. All right, this episode was brought to you by Jo Kessel, of course.
What?
Yeah, if you're interested in helping support us and hear your name shouted out, and who knows, maybe coming in on as a guest, probably not. I'm not promising that. Consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/mumbleandshrug.
If you like what you heard, consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Leave a comment on our TikToks. Do they call them ticks?
They call them talks.
They call them talks. Okay. Leave a comment on YouTube. Don't report our videos for weird things.
Don't comment on Facebook either. Nobody.
Comment on Facebook and comment on everything.
That's right.
Share everything. Make QR codes of our episodes and just slap them on like a Wendy's drive-through sign. Is like my next thing for like virus marketing.
That'll work.
Yeah. I guess that's all for this episode. I'm Phil Kessel.
I'm Will Chodas.
And I'm Craig Norland.
Oh, and I'm Jo Kessel.
Go watch this movie. It's very good. Very fun. It's very happy. Watch it and become a happier person.
Yeah.
Support your local drag queens.
That's right. They
that
do.
too.
Yeah. They do drag bingo, or at least they used to before COVID. And I also have kids now, so I don't go outside. But they used to do drag bingo.
Oh yeah,
I
it's
always
still a
wanted
thing.
to take Caitlin, but then all the things I mentioned.
Yeah. That'll do it. That'll do.
Next week.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Bye.
Brought to you by Mumble and Shrug Productions.